The lost explorer, the jungle was alive with strange sounds. Bright green vines hung low. Giant insects buzzed through thick, wet air. Somewhere far off, a creature let out a deep, echoing roar. The planet was wild and dangerous. Syria ran. Her legs were weak. Her hands were tied in front of her. Her clothes were torn, and her silver hair was messy. The tribal aliens had taken her from the crash site 3 days ago. Now they dragged her through this jungle, pulling her like a prisoner. She didn't know their language. She didn't know what they wanted. But the way they looked at her, angry, fearful, she could feel it. They thought she was some kind of evil spirit, and now they were taking her to be punished. The group stopped in a wide, muddy clearing. Large wooden stakes stood in a circle, black with ash. Bones were scattered across the ground. A strange smell filled the air, burnt flesh. A fire pit sat in the middle. Coals still glowed red. The tribe chanted in a low, rumbling voice. Drums pounded from the edge of the trees. Syria's heart pounded harder than the drums. She tried to speak, but the aliens didn't listen. 2 of them pushed her toward the stake in the center. Her hands were tied to it tightly. Then one of them grabbed the torch. Double quotes, no. Please, she whispered. But they didn't understand her words. Flames danced closer. The heat kissed her legs. Her eyes filled with tears. The chief stepped forward, raising both arms high. His skin was painted in white symbols. His eyes were full of hate. The torch dropped closer to the wood pile under Syria's feet. And then something strange happened. From the trees, a deep voice called out, "Stop, everyone." Froze. The flames paused. Even the wind seemed to stop. The voice came again. Calm, firm, human. Step away from her. All heads turned. From the shadows of the jungle, a tall figure walked into the clearing. His clothes were dark and dusty. A long, dirty coat hung from his shoulders. His face had a short beard, and one of his eyes was covered by a small piece of glass. His skin was tan, and on his back was a heavy bag. He was human. The tribal aliens backed up slowly, whispering in fear. Some even dropped their weapons. The chief shouted something, but the human didn't flinch. He walked straight to the fire pit, stopping just feet from Syria. She stared at him, confused, shocked, and hopeful. The human looked at her, then back at the tribe. "She's not your enemy," he said. The chief hissed and waved his spear. The human sighed. "I don't want to fight, but I will." He reached into his coat and pulled out a glowing orb. He tossed it gently into the fire. There was a flash, a loud boom. Sparks shot into the sky like fireworks. The tribe fell back, shielding their faces. The human used the moment. He ran to Syria, cut her ropes with a sharp knife, and grabbed her arm. "Time to go," he said. She nodded. Her legs were weak, but she moved. The human pulled her away from the stake. The tribe recovered quickly. Some grabbed spears. Others picked up stones. But the human pulled out a small metal rod. He pressed a button. Zap. A bolt of electricity shot into the air. It cracked like thunder. The tribal aliens froze again. "Don't follow," he warned. Then he and Syria ran into the jungle. They ran until their legs couldn't move anymore. Deeper into the wild trees, past tall rocks and muddy streams. Until they reached a small cave hidden by thick vines. Inside, the human lit a soft light and gave Syria a metal bottle. She drank quickly. Who are you?" she asked in a quiet voice. He smiled a little. "Name's Rake. Why did you save me?" "Didn't like what they were doing. That's all." Syria looked at him with wide, tired eyes. "You're the first human I've seen since my ship crashed." "You're lucky then," he said. "There aren't many of us left out here." She looked down. "They were going to burn me alive." "I know," he said softly. "That's why I walked in." Outside the cave, the jungle was quiet. But both of them knew this wasn't the end. The tribe would come again. And now they had a new reason to hate. The fire hadn't killed the girl, because a human had walked in. The man. Called Rake, the rain came without warning. Thunder rolled across the sky like a growl from something ancient. Water poured down the jungle leaves, soaking everything below. Syria sat at the edge of the cave, her knees pulled to her chest. Her skin still smelled like smoke. Her wrists had deep red marks from the ropes, but her eyes were watching him. Man who walked into fire. Rake was out in the rain, cutting thick green vines with a sharp blade. He worked fast and quiet, like someone who had done this many times before. She didn't understand him, not yet. Who was this man living alone in such a deadly place? Why did he risk his life to save her? Syria had heard stories of humans cold, powerful, sometimes even heartless warriors. But this one, he had scars on his arms and sadness in his eyes. She stood and stepped outside the cave. The rain hit her skin like soft stones. She moved closer, shivering a little. "You shouldn't be out here," Rake said without turning around. "I can help," she answered, hugging herself. He turned to her finally, handing over a long vine. "You ever build a shelter?" "No," she admitted. "Then you learn today." They tied the vines between thick branches, building a frame over the cave. Entrance. Rake worked with silent focus, hands moving like a machine. Syria followed, clumsy but trying. The shelter was finished just as lightning flashed again in the sky. They ducked under the cover, water dripping off their hair. Rake took out a small metal case from his pack and opened it. Inside were strips of dried meat, old ration bars, and 2 silver packs of warm liquid. He handed one to her. She took it slowly. "This is human food?" she asked. "Survival food," he replied. She bit into the ration. It tasted like sand and old metal, but she forced herself to eat. After a few minutes, Syria broke the silence. "Why are you here, alone in this jungle?" Rake didn't answer right away. He stared at the rain. "I wasn't always alone," he said finally. "My unit crashed here years ago. There were 7 of us. What happened? They died. One by one. Some to disease, some to the jungle, some to the tribes." Syria's eyes lowered. "I'm sorry," Rake shook his head. "Not your fault." She looked at him again. "But why save me? You don't even know who I am." "I didn't need to know," he replied. "I saw someone about to be burned alive. That was enough." Syria was silent for a moment. "Back on my ship, I was a scientist, but I'm not just that. I was born with mixed blood. My mother was from the royal house of Velenar. My father was one of the human diplomats who vanished years ago." Rake looked at her carefully. "So you're half human?" She nodded. "That's why they feared me. The tribes believe fire purifies the tainted. They think I'm cursed." "Stupid old beliefs," Rake muttered. "But dangerous," Syria added. "Now you've made yourself their enemy too." Rake grinned faintly. "They already hated me. This just made it official." Suddenly, a sound came from the trees. Crunch. Both of them froze. Rake stood up fast, grabbing a weapon from his pack, a short, curved blade and a small disc that blinked with red light. He tossed the disc into the trees. Nothing happened for a second. Then click. A hologram flared in the air. It showed a moving red just 50 meters away. "Tracker drone," Rake said. "Somebody's looking for you." "From the tribe?" "Too high-tech. This is military grade." "Then it's from my father's." "Enemies," Syria whispered. Before Rake could respond, something swooped over them, a dark shape with wings. ZZZ. The drone fired a shot that sizzled into the ground. Rake jumped forward, grabbing Syria and pushing her back into the cave. "Stay down," he barked. He rolled, pulled a throwing knife from his belt, and launched it with deadly aim. Crack! The drone spun out of the air and crashed into the mud. Smoke rose from its broken shell. Rake ran to it. Inside the twisted frame, he pulled out a tiny blinking core. "This isn't tribal tech," he said. "This is from the Keldari Syndicate." Siria's face turned pale. "They want me dead more than the tribe does." Rake looked at her seriously. "Well, you better tell me why." She looked at him, then toward the jungle, where shadows moved quietly between the trees, and she whispered, "Because I'm not just a royal hybrid. I'm the key to a weapon buried on this planet. And they want it back." "She's not what she seems." A cold wind blew through the trees, but it wasn't natural. The leaves didn't sway. The animals didn't stir. Even the rain had stopped, as if something powerful was watching from the shadows. Rake felt it first. He stood outside the cave, staring into the thick jungle. His hand rested near the handle of his knife. His instincts whispered, "They're getting closer." Inside the cave, Siria slept curled in a blanket of vines and cloth. Her face was peaceful, but her body glowed faintly in the dark. Tiny symbols across her skin, silver and blue, flickered like a language from another world. Rake had never seen anything like it. He moved closer, careful not to wake her. The glowing marks ran along her neck, arms, and collarbone. They looked almost alive, shifting and pulsing. With a slow rhythm, he reached into his pack and pulled out a small scanner. He hesitated. Then he waved it gently above her skin. The screen lit up. Genetic code match. Human class Alpha, Velinar. Bloodline confirmed. Biotech signature detected. Neural archive locked. Warning: royal encryption present. Rake's eyes widened. "Neural archive?" he whispered. Siria stirred. She opened her eyes and sat up slowly. The symbols on her skin dimmed again. "You scanned me," she said, voice calm. "I had to." Rake answered, "Your skin it's coded." "I know," she nodded. "It's my inheritance." He looked at her, confused. "My mother hid it inside me," she continued. "A map, a weapon, and secrets no one else was meant to know." Rake crossed his arms. "That why they're hunting you?" Siria nodded. "They don't just want me dead. They want what's inside me." Rake stared at the scanner again. "Why? Didn't you tell me before?" "Because I didn't trust you," she said plainly. "But you saved me, twice." She stood up, pulling her blanket around her shoulders. "I think it's time you know everything." 2 years ago, planet Velanar Prime Ziria had stood before the Council of Crowns, barely 16. Her mother's voice was strong as she declared her daughter the future of both their bloodlines, but not everyone agreed. The Keldari Syndicate, an ancient rival empire, believed the girl was too dangerous, too unpredictable. So they made a plan. They would kill her, but her mother was smarter. She injected Siria with a bioarchive, a living library of secret technology and maps to hidden weapons lost across the galaxy. Only Siria's body could access it. Only her life could protect it. But if she died, it would fall into enemy hands. That's why her escape ship was sabotaged. That's why she crashed on the jungle planet. That's why tribal spies had followed her trail. Because if they caught her, they would extract the archive by force, even if it killed her. Back in the cave, Siria finished her story. Rake was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "So, you're a walking treasure chest." She smiled weakly. "If treasure came with nightmares, yes." Rake stood and walked to the back wall of the cave. He pressed a hidden button. A stone panel slid open, revealing a secret room with human tech inside, radios, old scanners, and broken weapons. "Come with me," he said. Siria followed. In the center of the room sat a damaged human console, powered by a portable energy core. Rake tapped it. The screen came to life barely. "I've been hiding this place for years," he said. "It might help unlock some of your code." Siria stepped forward and placed her hand on the screen. The symbols on her skin lit up again. The console beeped. "Royal neural sync detected. Decrypting archive 12%. 27%. All quotes. Suddenly, the console flashed red. "Warning. Incoming pulse, external source detected. What's that? Rake asked sharply. Syria's eyes widened. They've found us. Outside the cave, the sky glowed bright orange. A low hum filled the air. From above, a dark ship slowly descended through the trees, its light scanning the jungle floor. They're not tribal, Rake growled. That's a syndicate dropship. Syria turned to him. If they catch me, they'll tear my brain apart for this data. Then we don't let them. She reached into her bag and pulled out a tiny silver disc. What's that? He asked. A backup key, she said. If I die, it'll erase everything inside me. No, Rake said firmly. You're not dying. But if it comes to that, it won't. Outside, soldiers in black armor began landing in the clearing. Rake loaded his weapons. We fight. Syria looked at him, eyes shining. You believe I'm worth saving? You're not just some royal girl, he said. You're not just data. You're a person. She smiled softly. And you, she said. You're more than just a man in the jungle. They stood together at the cave entrance, ready to face what was coming. Behind them, the console displayed one final message. Decryption complete. Location unlocked. Project Firebarn. Run, burn, fight. The jungle caught fire before the sun rose. It started with a beam of blue light, silent, sharp, cutting through the treetops like a knife. The leaves turned to ash. The ground cracked. And everything that moved died. The syndicate had arrived. Rake saw it first through a cracked visor as he crawled through the undergrowth beside Syria. That was a heat lance, he whispered. They're not hunting anymore. They're burning everything. Behind them, their cave hideout exploded in flames. The syndicate wasn't trying to capture her anymore. They wanted to erase all evidence of her existence. Keep your head low, he said, grabbing Syria's wrist. And don't stop running. They bolted through the smoking jungle, leaping over fallen trees, sliding under tangled roots. Fire followed them, creeping, licking, hunting. Above, syndicate drones circled in tight loops, scanning for life signs. Rake! Syria shouted as a burning branch fell in front of them. He didn't stop. He slashed through it with a knife and kept running. They reached a stream, knee-deep and muddy. Rake stopped and pulled out a thin metallic net from his bag. He tossed it over their bodies, and it shimmered faintly before vanishing. Holocloak, he said. It'll hide us for 20 seconds. Catch your breath. Syria gasped for air, her hands shaking. The data inside her was safe for now, but the fire outside was growing. Where are we going? She asked. There's an old human. Outpost 10 clicks north. I've never entered it, but if your data is real, that place might open to you. And if it doesn't? Then we die smarter than most, he said with a grin. The holocloak faded. Time to move. They traveled for hours. The jungle burned behind them. Smoke curled into the sky. Strange creatures, some half-metal, ran past them, fleeing the fire. As the sun fell, they reached the edge of a rocky canyon. Rake stood at the cliffside, looking down at twisted ruins covered in vines. There, he said. The outpost. It didn't look like much. Rusted steel doors, broken towers, and shattered stone. But deep underground, something powerful slept. Syria's skin began to glow again. The symbols pulsed with warmth. It's reacting, she whispered. Then hurry, Rake urged. They climbed down together, careful on the cracked stone. The entrance door was half buried, but a panel still blinked faintly beside it. Syria reached out. Her fingertips brushed the metal. Neural signature confirmed. Welcome, keyholder. The door groaned open. Inside was darkness, cool and dry. Lights flickered on one by one as they stepped inside the forgotten base. Rake looked around. Looks like no one's been here in decades. No one human, Syria corrected. The place smelled like oil, dust, and old war. They entered a large central chamber. At the center stood a round platform with a control terminal. Around it, broken glass pods, some shattered, some empty. What is this place? Rake asked. Syria stepped forward, her skin glowing brighter. Welcome to Project Fireborn, the system said. A hologram lit up an image of armored figures. Half human, half machine. Fireburn was a final attempt, Syria explained, reading from the console. To make super soldiers. Not with cybernetics, but with genetics. Human and alien blood fused to awaken hidden power. Like you, Rake said. Syria nodded. I'm the last prototype. Suddenly, alarms blared. Warning. External. Breach detected. Syndicate forces inbound. How many? Rake asked. Too many. Rake moved quickly. He grabbed old weapons from nearby crates, half-charged rifles. A shield generator, a pulse mine. You know how to shoot? He asked. Syria took a small blaster from the crate and checked its energy level. I've trained. Not like a soldier, but enough. Good, because they'll be here in 2 minutes. Outside, Syndicate boots stomped across the canyon rocks. Inside. Rake placed the mine at the entrance and took cover behind a fallen console. Stay low, he said. Syria crouched beside him, her breathing heavy. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, Rake admitted. But we stand. We don't run. This time. The door blew open. Smoke and light filled the chamber. Syndicate soldiers in black armor stormed in. Their visors glowing red. The mine exploded, taking 2 down instantly. Rake opened fire, moving between cover points like a ghost. He fought with skill and rage like a man who had nothing left to lose. Syria joined in, her blaster shaky at first, then steady. They fought side by side, but one soldier slipped past, rushing straight for Syria. He tackled her. She screamed, falling to the ground. Give me the key. The soldier growled. Then Syria's symbols flashed. A wave of light blasted out from her skin. Knocking him back, she stood up, eyes glowing white. And for the first time, Rake saw it. She wasn't just a scientist. She wasn't just a girl. She was Fireburn. The fire trial, the smoke had faces in it. Rake blinked hard, sweat rolling down his neck. His vision blurred from the heat, but the smoke in the room wasn't normal anymore. It moved like it had thoughts. Shapes floated through the air. Whispering faces. Of people he had lost. His old squad. His brother. Even his mother. You left us. A voice said. Rake backed up, gun raised, breathing hard. Behind him. Syria stood in the center of the room, surrounded by burning light. The symbols on her body were no longer just glowing, they were spinning, forming patterns in the air. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't afraid. She looked like someone, remembering who she truly was. I didn't mean for this to happen, Syria whispered, but it was already too late. 1 hour earlier inside the ruins of the Fireborn facility. After the Syndicate attack, the base had locked down. The few soldiers still alive had fled or burned in the mine traps Rake placed. The main console blinked red and gold, repeating the same message. Initiating fire trial. Only the bloodborne may proceed. What is the fire trial? Rake asked. Syria was pale. A test. What kind of test? The kind meant to kill. Before Rake could say more, the platform below Syria lit up and pulled her down inside the floor. The doors slammed shut. Rake punched the console. No, open it. The system responded coldly, unauthorized. Only Fireborn genetics allowed. He slammed his fist against the metal and cursed. Syria was gone, inside the trial chamber. Syria opened her eyes to a vast stone room. It looked ancient, like a temple, with alien writing on the walls. Fire lit up from 4 corners, casting long shadows across the floor. The voice echoed around her. Fire burns weakness. Fire reveals truth. Fire crowns the worthy. A pillar rose from the center of the chamber, and on it lay a glowing orb. Suddenly, ghost-like figures stepped out from the walls, tall alien warriors with silver eyes and armor made of flames. They spoke without mouths. Why do you seek the power? Syria stood tall. I don't want power, she said. I want to survive. I want to protect what's left. The flames responded by forming a sword in midair. Then survive this. The sword slashed toward her, but Syria didn't run. She closed her eyes and raised her hands. The symbols on her body lit up brighter than ever before, forming a barrier on her skin. The sword stopped inches away and shattered Dot outside the chamber. Rake waited, pacing like a trapped animal. The console showed no updates. Just static. Dot. Then the walls began to shake. Dot. Light poured from the cracks in the floor. Rake stepped back as the stone beneath his feet began to glow. Dot. Suddenly, a hidden panel slid open behind him. Dot. Inside was a sealed stasis pod. A girl floated inside it. His breath caught. She looked exactly like Seriya. Dot, but younger, calm, untouched. A clone. Rake scanned the pod. The label read Fireburn 02, Backup Unit, Inactive. What the hell is this? He whispered. Dot. Another Syria? Was she the real one? Back in the trial chamber, the room was burning now. Syria stood in the middle, breathing hard. Her clothes were half burned, but she didn't fall. She held the glowing orb in her hand. Her eyes were white with light. The flame warriors circled her one last time. You have passed the trial. Fire does not destroy you, it obeys you. The floor cracked. The orb melted into her chest like liquid fire. She screamed once loud, long, and then everything went black. Moments later, the main chamber's ceiling cracked. The trial doors burst open, and Syria floated up from the pit in a wave of golden light. Her feet touched the ground softly. Her eyes were calm, her body surrounded by faint fire. She looked different, now. Dot. Stronger. Dot. Like someone who had walked through death and returned. Rake stepped back, unsure. Syria? She turned slowly. Her voice was layered with echoes. I am Fireburn now. He nodded. You all right? She looked around at the ruined walls. The power, it listens to me now. Rake motioned toward the clone pod. And what about her? Syria stepped up to the pod and stared inside at her twin. She was created in case I failed. But she has no soul, no memories. She's not me. Rake frowned. Do we leave her? Syria hesitated, then placed a hand on the glass. No, she said. She deserves to live. Even a copy should get a choice. She opened the pod. The clone girl gasped her first breath. Outside, more syndicate ships were landing. Rake checked his weapon. They're back. Syria turned, her flames rising around her again. This time, she said softly, they'll burn instead. They want her soul. The clone stared at her own hands, shaking. I don't feel real, she whispered. Rake didn't know what to say. She looked like Syria, exact same face, same hair, same eyes, but her voice was lighter, softer, like a child who had never lived. Syria stood across from her, silent. Her skin still glowed faintly, symbols slowly fading after the fire trial. She doesn't have a name, Rake said. Syria stepped forward, eyes calm. She was made to replace me. A backup if I failed. But you didn't fail, Rake said. No, she replied. But the syndicate doesn't know that yet. Outside, wind howled through the canyon. The syndicate ships had landed. Boots crunched over dirt and metal. Voices barked in strange alien tongue. They're coming, Rake said, loading his weapon. And they brought hunters. Syria turned to the clone. Listen to me. You're not just a copy. You're alive now. That means you choose who you are. The clone blinked. Can I be like you? Syria touched her shoulder. You can be better. Down in the canyon, a tall figure stepped out of the largest syndicate ship. He wore dark robes, armor laced with glowing veins of purple energy. His face was hidden behind a smooth mask, and in his hand he held a golden rod carved with alien runes. He was no soldier. He was a soul collector. They used to be human, Rake whispered when he saw the figure from the outpost window. But they gave up their hearts to the machine. They don't kill for death. They kill to take what's inside. Syria's body tensed. He's here for the archive inside me. Not just that, Rake said. He wants your soul. Inside the outpost, lights flickered. Systems crashed. The soul collector had started his work. Around them, shadows crawled across the floor like smoke alive. Syria stepped to the center of the chamber. I'll draw him in. You two escape. No, Rake said. We stay together. You can't fight him, she said, but I can. The clone girl stepped forward. I'll go with her. You're just a child, Rake said. I'm her, she answered. Syria nodded. She's right. The door to the outpost opened with a deep groan. Outside, the soul collector stood alone. Syria walked out slowly, flames curling around her arms. I'm here, she said. His voice was like ice breaking. You stole what was never yours. I was born with it, she replied. You carry fire in your blood, but I carry emptiness, and I will take both. He raised his hand. The shadows rushed forward. The jungle around the outpost turned gray. The sky dimmed. Even the birds stopped singing. Inside, Rake watched helplessly as Syria stepped into battle alone. She raised her hands and fire answered. A wall of flame shot upward, blocking the shadows, but the soul collector laughed. You think fire scares the void? He opened his mask. There was no face, only a swirling black hole, pulling light and sound into itself. The flames bent toward him. Syria screamed, trying to hold her power. Rake ran out of the base. No, he shouted. You won't take her. The shadows reached for him. Then the clone stepped forward. Take me instead, she said. The soul collector paused. You are the same, he said. No, she whispered. I'm new. I have nothing. You won't steal what I haven't lived yet. And then she reached into her chest, pulled out the silver backup disc. And crushed it. A wave of white light exploded outward. The shadows shrieked. The soul collector staggered back. Mask cracking, the fire turned blue. Syria screamed, not in fear, but in power. The archive burned through her body like lightning, but she stayed standing. And in the flash, the soul collector vanished. Gone. Silence fell. The jungle was still again. Syria fell to her knees. Exhausted. Rake caught her before she hit the ground. The clone knelt beside them, shaking but smiling. I didn't know I could do that. You chose your soul, Syria whispered. That made you real. Later, inside the base, the three sat together. The archive inside Syria was quiet now. No more spinning lights or burning skin. Just a warmth, like a sleeping sun inside her. I think it's done, she said. You think he's dead? Rake asked. No, Syria said. He's not dead, just gone for now. Rake leaned back, looking at the stars above. Then we prepare. Syria nodded. And next time, she said, we won't run. Humanity doesn't burn. The fire had left its mark. Not just on the jungle, but on them. Trees still smoldered. The air still smelled like smoke and metal. But deep inside the hidden outpost, the real change was in the people who walked out of it. A girl who once screamed in ropes. A man who once lived alone in shadows. And a clone who was never meant to live at all. They walked forward, together, and the world would never be the same again. 3 days passed. The syndicate ships were gone. No signs of life. No drones, no shadow creatures. Just the ruins of what was once a battlefield. Rake worked quietly, rebuilding the small shelter outside the outpost. He dug fresh water lines and planted nutrient seeds he had saved for years. Syria sat under a tree, eyes closed, meditating. The glowing marks on her body had faded, but inside her Project Fireborn still lived. The clone girl, now called Nira, helped Rake fix old power cells. She hummed softly while she worked, sometimes laughing when wires sparked in her hands. For The first time. They were safe, but peace never lasts long. It started with a message, an old human signal, buried in military code. Rake found it on a half-dead transmitter. Unknown ship inbound, code red, fireborne protocol engaged. Earth command. Requests contact. Rake stared at the screen. It's Earth, he said. They found us. Syria stood up. Do they know I'm alive? Rake looked at her. They know someone activated Fireborn. That's enough. Nira tilted her head. Will they help us? Rake hesitated. Maybe, or maybe they want to control you. Syria breathed slowly. Then we show them what we've become. That night, a ship landed in the clearing. It wasn't Syndicate. It was human, but armored, heavy, and ready for war. Soldiers stepped out fully armed, eyes scanning every shadow. A tall woman in a silver suit walked to the front. Her hair was white, cut short, and her voice was cold. I am Commander Reyes, she said. By order of Earth Command, the Fireburn Project is now under our protection. You will come with us. Syria stepped forward, calm, and not a weapon. I'm a person. Reyes narrowed her eyes. That's not your choice. Rake stepped between them. It is now. Reyes gave a signal. Soldiers raised their weapons, but they didn't fire. Not when the jungle around them lit up with blue flame. Syria's eyes glowed softly. Nira stood beside her, hand raised. The ground rumbled slightly, not from bombs, but from power waking beneath it. Syria didn't threaten. She didn't scream. She just stood there. A girl who once feared fire. Now fire followed her. Commander Reyes lowered her weapon slowly. You're dangerous. Syria nodded. Only when people try to own me. A long silence followed. Then Reyes turned back to her soldiers. Stand down. She faced Syria one last time. Earth Command will reach out again. They'll want answers. They can ask, Syria replied. But I decide what I give. The humans left quietly. No shots fired. No one died. Later that night, Rake sat by a small fire. Nira slept nearby, curled in a blanket. Syria joined him, holding a warm mug. Do you think they'll come back? She asked. Always, Rake said. She looked at him. You regret saving me? Rake chuckled. You were tied to a stake, on fire. I walked into a death circle for you. Of course not. She smiled. You changed everything, she said. No, he said. You did. You didn't let the fire take you. Syria watched the flames dance. I used to be afraid of fire. Rake nodded. Now? Now I understand it. She looked at him. Fire isn't just pain. It's also light. It's also rebirth. They sat in silence. Then Rake spoke again softly. They tried to burn you alive. Syria looked into the fire. But a human walked in, she said, voice strong. And I didn't burn.